Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Toonkind at 12 FPS. I am Cartoon Kitsune, and today I will be playing my very devilish Butler fellow, Xavier Stirling. And with me today is the always lovely and wonderful.
Hee-hoo. Hello, everyone. I am Noodle or pasta or udon or whichever variation thereof y'all are feeling like today. And I have a delightful bird, a bird who we love so much, who is not thinking about things right now. He's busy. Yes, very busy. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so the reason why he's busy, I will warn at the beginning of this that there are likely going to be some modicum spoilers from the games, The Mercenaries and Diamond of Despair, more so the latter, most likely. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, as a quick recap of what's been going on, Prof got kidnapped. Everybody disliked that, and fortunately he
Correct.
got rescued. And now a whole bunch of people have been kind of like just either staying over at the Layton household or kind of going in and out. One of them being the mirror system, specifically Evelyn, who is the one who's currently fronting, because well, needless to say, she did. Mirror System did not take the news of what happened to Prof very well, so they are very much like wanting to keep an eye on him.
Yeah. And Juby
Yeah,
lives there. So
yeah,
that's his house too.
yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Other bit of context is that well before this all went down, Aurelia kind of had like a bad feeling that something might be happening to Prof, even though she didn't have any idea what was going on. Xavier did attempt to kind of console her fears and be like, nah, he's probably fine. You don't have to worry about that. Spoilers, of course, it did not turn out that well. And yeah, but Xavier's like, he's not thinking about that whole thing and how he, kind of screwed up that whole thing. He's fine. He's keeping busy. Of
hmm.
course, he followed Evelyn over to the house, and she basically just kind of like volunteered him for like helping out with like anything around the house, like cooking, chores, that sort of thing, just so
Mhm.
everyone else can like kind of have like extra set of hands, one less thing to worry about, that sort of thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say Jubilee, who has been uncharacteristically serious for at least the first
Mhm.
few hours while everyone was getting back and situated and settled.
Yeah.
Um definitely accepted the offer from Evelyn and probably tried to not snap orders.
Mhm.
Probably. But actually let me roll for that. Let's see. We'll just
Yeah.
roll.
Mhm.
I'm gonna roll straight charisma.
Yeah.
12.
Well,
Okay.
could be
Not
worse.
awful. Could be
Yeah.
worse. It's clear he's not at his most charming.
Mhm.
um, uh, little snappish, but
A little
he
bit.
remembers his manners
Yeah.
mostly. And definitely asks, does not order, um, for help around the the house because he's gonna be the one that's taking care of most everyone, at least focusing on what individuals need.
Definitely. And while we're at it with the roles, I want you to roll an insight on Xavier, because if these two are like kind of helping to take care of stuff around the house, they're probably interacting on and off every so often.
Sure. Yeah, let's see. Oh,
Oh
now you
wow.
roll high, of course. You
Yeah.
paranoid mother pecker.
Yeah, that
Well,
is a
that is fair.
25 with a 19 on the dice. So
Hmm.
yeah. So Juby, you've visited the manor every so often, for whatever
Hmm.
reason. Yeah, you've interacted with Xavier a few times. I mean, there's the interview, of course,
Yeah,
but like as you've gotten to know each other more, you
yeah,
like to give this guy a hard time just for funsies.
yeah. It's funny to poke at him.
Yeah, and usually
He
he plays
always
along
gets
well
so
enough.
huffy.
Exactly. Like he gets annoyed at you, trying to steal stuff from the manor. I mean, you always give it back, of course, but you have your little
Hmm.
like bits of banter and your little arguments, but it never gets like
Hmm.
too bad. And like you always kind of get the
Hmm.
sense that like he's having a bit of fun with matching with you and all that.
Yeah.
Currently, however, you definitely notice that he's definitely a bit like I don't know how to describe kind of not quite giving you the cold shoulder, but like kind of like that. Like he's a little bit more terse with you than he
Hmm.
normally would be. And I think with that role, you can probably get the sense that like he's like there's definitely a lot more like kind of dislike vibes. Like he's like more legitimately kind of annoyed with you.
Hmm.
It's not really
And
like
that,
any like specific
yeah,
thing you might have done. It's more kind of like a general like irritation with you.
yeah, and that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, because Jubilee has been in and out of the house mostly. He's the one that's willing to run around and go and do stuff while everyone is resting.
Hmm.
And he did have his baking montage, so he was out for a little bit and came back and
Yeah.
distributed pastries for those that requested.
Yeah.
Um, and also there is a bit of ruffling to his feathers because this is his house.
Hmm.
Excuse you, sir. Um, and he hasn't been stealing anything. There is no reason for the usual song and dance to be happening.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that's kind of the odd thing, isn't it?
mhm.
Yeah.
And so it's a bit of like, bro, what the fuck? Hello? What have I done? What did I do this time? I'm not. He's like been mentally going through it just one more stream of thought to add to the like 8 different trains of thought that are already going through his head right now of just
Right.
what did I do to piss off Xavier now? Okay, sure, yeah. Let's just keep an eye on that and
Yeah.
sure, okay.
All right. I think that brings us to the present currently. Um, because Xavier's been wanting to keep busy for his own reasons, but eventually, like like there's not really much to do for a bit, and he does kind of need a break from just like how crowded the house can get with all the people in there. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's not really a ton of places like in the house, like other than like bedrooms and stuff, which you can't really go in because it's not his house. So like for some alone time to be alone with his thoughts. So he has
Yeah.
he's basically just climbed up onto the roof and he's kind of chilling up there. And he
Hmm.
also somehow he managed to find like a stray cat that was like roaming around on the rooftops or whatever and coaxed it over. So he's got this like very fluffy like calico cat just sitting in his lap purring, and
Hmm.
he's doing his usual shtick of like doting over it.
Can I actually have Xavier roll perception?
Gladly.
Just to see how quick he tunes into things or if he is focused on Cat.
He, I'm actually tempted to roll disadvantage because when he has a kitty with him, he is like very much focused on the kitty. So I'm gonna roll disadvantage
What?
just for fun. Oh, it's a
Disadvantage for
10.
Cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. Let me see. What is your thing? Yeah. Um. So Xavier, you have a kitty. You have
Hmm.
a very, very fluffy kitty. Calico kitty. You
Yeah.
are also unaware of how things tend to work in the Layton household.
Hmm.
Um, so you don't notice anything going on until that cat startles rather abruptly.
Hmm.
Uh, and there is a somewhat amused huff of a laugh, uh, not far away from you, having clambered from just below the lip of the roof, where, if you can recall, a certain someone's bedroom window is.
Hmm.
And he has clambered his way up onto the roof, and has sat himself down at the edge, watching as this cat now scampers off to go find a safe way down, because undoubtedly there are many ways down from this house.
Oh yeah,
If
there's like a
not,
wall or
it will
something,
appear
or yeah,
plot conveniently.
of course. Yeah, Xavier just watches the kitty scamper off and just like sighs himself, like, oh, well, so much for that.
Oh no, how sad.
And yeah, I think he's just gonna like glare over at Juvie. God,
Why are you glaring at me? This is my roof.
uh, God, how does he respond to this?
I mean, worst case, the bird does talk a lot. I can have him continue.
Yeah, because I think he's probably gonna say something along the lines of like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you owned the entire roof, but no, this is like technically his house. So I mean, well, technically it's Leo's house. So actually, that'll work." Shimon's like, "Oh, well, I was under the impression that this was technically Mr. Layton's house and you were just living in it. I did not know you
Hmm.
had ownership of the roof specifically."
Hmm. Consider. There's this thing called the rule of dibs. I call dibs on the roof. Occasionally I share it. But I don't recall you asking my permission to be up here, so. My roof. And as he says that, he does stretch his wings out and kind of like lean back on the roof. And Juby is 6'5". He is not a short toon, and his wingspan is fitting. It is large. He takes up
Yeah,
a fair bit of space.
makes sense. Yeah, Xavier's a
Mm-hmm.
tall fella, but he does not have the wingspan to match it. So
It is definitely on purpose getting into Xavier's space. This is very familiar sort of needling at him.
yeah. But unlike usually, he doesn't really seem that into it. I think he just kind of like pushes the wing out of the way. Very well. Well, unless there's something you wanted from me, Mr. Yukon, I suppose I shall be taking my leave then. And he kind of like gets
Well,
up and yeah, he looks like he kind of like looks like he's about to leave.
mhm.
Yeah.
What in the world has gotten your fancy tux in a twist lately? I mean, really, I haven't been especially bastardly lately, and you're. Well, this is unusual.
I think he kind of like fixes you with a flat look and is like, "You
Mhm.
really need to ask that, considering the current situation. I suspect all of us are on edge. Not It's not just myself. And let me roll deception on that, just to see.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Oh damn, this is
Wow.
22.
All right. I'll roll a new insight. Let's see. He might be able to get it. He
Oh,
might.
let's see.
He does not.
17. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. I think with that roll, like, seems legit, but like, I mean, of course, you know what you know. You've noticed that, like, it's kind of
Mhm.
he's kind of pissed at you specifically, or annoyed with you, or whatever.
Mhm.
So like,
Mhm.
it's an explanation it's an excuse that makes sense, but like,
Yeah.
maybe there's something else there.
Yeah. And there's a moment where Juby turns it over in his head and thinks, because he lives with a house of people who are very good at keeping their emotions under wraps. And also, he's a gambler. He's
Hmm.
used to not being able to read people perfectly. So he weighs the odds in his head for just a moment, and the outline of his eye in his glasses fades as his grin stretches just that bit wider, and mentally he decides, okay, I'm going to take a wrecking ball to this. Got it. And he kind of rests his chin on his palm as he looks at Xavier and just, right. We're all on edge, and yet you in particular seem to have it out for me. So, either you're bored somehow and planning on picking a fight, or you have somehow thought that I was involved with some of this nonsense. Or you're just being an asshole with no manners in my house. That doesn't seem very much like you at all, now does it? I don't think you would ever want to bring, embarrassment upon your lady, now would you?
Yeah, Xavier is like visibly bristling at Juby now. And I will note small detail that's just funny to me specifically that between the glasses shine and like the big old Cheshire cat grin, I think Juby's like kind of reminding Xavier of like a certain someone that he used to know and certain Grim Reaper who he very much does not enjoy being reminded of. I think in the back of his head he's like there's like an imagined spot and he's hearing her very distinct cackle in the back of his head and just sweat dropping in that.
Hee-hoo. Yeah.
Yeah. But he composes himself quickly enough and just gives you a polite, not at all passive aggressive smile and says, "Why, Mr. Yukon, me of all people being ill mannered, perish the thought.
Mm,
I certainly
and
wouldn't want.
yet.
Hmm. Well, I assure you, I certainly wouldn't want to start any spats between us. And at the hang on, what was I going to
You're
say?
good.
Uh, words hard.
Words.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I certainly wouldn't want to start any spats between us. Certainly not now of all times. But if you're so intent on starting something, then I do believe you're the problem here, not me.
Me starting something? Why, I would never. Certainly not where it would cause problems for, of course, my dear family. But again, as stated, I am not the one who started this bullshit. I have done nothing but care for the others, given I may have been a bit snappish when, requesting your assistance, as Miss Evelyn did volunteer you. And certainly you aren't harboring a grudge for that. In which case, again, I do recall my words were please and could you. I did remember my manners, so you truly have no reason to be such an asshole. And don't even pretend to be, oh, I'm so polite and high and blech, whatever the hell it is. Your highbrow nonsense. I can see through the bullshit. I'm not an idiot. As I truly must remind you, considering, how many times I've come close to one-upping you. Truly, if I didn't care for returning things for the young ladies, I would have gotten away with so much under your nose.
Yeah, what did he? I'm trying to think. I think he kind of like,
Fair. This is.
yeah, I think he kind of like just kind of mutters under his breath, like, "Huh, well, I'm sure you wouldn't do anything to her intentionally, of course, and yet, hmm, and
Oh. Care to speak up? I appear to be going hard of hearing.
I think she just kind of like sighs and like rubs at his temples, like, very, very well, if you're going to keep prying into this and not giving me a moment's peace.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
The re I suppose the reason I am particularly perturbed by you is less is not because of anything you did intentionally, and yet, well, the effects of it have made my job significantly more troublesome.
You know, that clears up absolutely nothing. I do a great deal of things unintentionally. You'll have to be a bit more specific. Isn't precision one of your skills?
I think he just like mutters under his breath, "My word, you are insufferable."
I do take pride in that. Thank you.
Well, if you must know, I was recently informed that you have been and unintentionally or otherwise, filling my lady's head with some rather nonsensical ideas that have done nothing but cause her even further anxiety, something which I have been tasked to keep as one of my highest priorities to keep her mental stability in check. But with these sort of notions that have gotten into her head, it has made my job all the more difficult.
He kind of raises an eyebrow and gives Xavier a look that is very much the, buddy, you have not narrowed it down at all. Well, I certainly won't apologize for being a good storyteller.
Ah, yes, stories. You do certainly like to talk about of those quite a bit, as I have recently learned.
Well, I do have a talent for it, yes. Again, I don't know why that would be a terrible thing. I do tell fantastic stories. Hardly anything, untoward that would cause the little lady, well, any of them really, any anxiety.
Well, yes, stories are all well and good when they're kept in the realm of fiction, but when you try to apply that to real life, well, then things get quite a bit more muddled, especially when you manage to convince someone that, well, life is a story, and that, and hang on, how's he gonna say this? And that the people in it are subject to the whims of the plot. I believe it's known as around these parts.
Oh boy, that's where
Mm-hmm.
this needs to happen. Thanks, Juby. Do
Ooh,
you want to have Xavier roll, insight?
absolutely.
Because that was a surprisingly low roll, my boy. I know why that would be low. I know how to flavor that why it would be low.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that's a nat
Ha!
20.
So Xavier,
Mm-hmm.
um, you poke at that. You say you've managed to convince her that people's lives are stories and that
They're
all of this
subject
is
to the whims of the
something that,
plot. Yeah.
yeah, and you see something crack in, it's not physically cracking, but there's no tune effect around him. Nothing like that, but we as the
Mm-hmm.
viewers would definitely see something like that in an effect if this were a show.
Yeah.
But what does happen is it's very clear when frames are isolated and don't move. And Jubilee's grin freezes. It does not move, it seems slightly off kilter with the rest of his design, as if he is purposefully keeping it in place. And there is a specific way, because he is sitting at the edge of the rooftop, sort of with like one knee tucked to his chest, the other leg sort of swinging. Um, you notice that as you talk, the swing of his leg starts to fall into a steady rhythm, kind of like the swinging of a clock's pendulum.
Hmm.
And these are things that you have not seen happen. These are different. But you can also pick up an the flare of anger from him for just a moment before it is forcibly choked back. As it seems you might have struck a nerve. Just a
Mm-hmm.
bit. So that's a nat 20, I'll give you that.
Definitely.
Uh-huh. Um, and just again, that swinging as his heel clicks against the side of the house, just. Oh, right. So our lives aren't stories in their own way, according to you, right? Because surely... Oh, don't start with this. Don't be another person who's going to just be denying the forces of the world. It's already annoying enough with having to explain this to one person.
Forces of the. I didn't warn you not to pry into this. I was trying to avoid a conflict such as this. I don't want to be dismissing your beliefs, whatever my personal thoughts are on them.
Beliefs.
Yes.
Oh, I see. So, is gravity a belief now? Is that something that we can just stop believing in and it stops working? Oh, that would be fantastic. I could use that at any point. That would be delightful. Okay, let's see. I believe gravity is going to go sideways. No. I don't think anything has changed. Fascinating. I think you might be wrong. But that's fine. Is that what has you pissed at me? Is that it?
I'm gonna say roll another insight when you say that.
Sure, let's see. That
15.
is... yeah, even worse.
Yeah,
Again, fair. Juby's angry.
definitely. Yeah, I think that's just barely enough. Like you see him like twitch a little, like at the mention of like one particular part of that sentence. I don't think that's quite high enough to know which particular part kind of got under his skin. Out of character, I'll say it's like the "you were wrong" part, but Juby doesn't know that.
Yeah. Like, oh, you have a problem with the plot. Oh, isn't that so stereotypical? Really, of all the things to be angry with about, there's honestly there's a plethora of other far more interesting reasons to be pissed at me. I was quite excited to get into those, but this? Are you serious? Come on, Xavier. Please tell me my mic was picking that up.
Oh no, no, I heard it. I heard the whole thing. I'm trying to think of like how to
Okay,
respond.
good. No, we're good. I
Okay.
just... Whew.
Well, ordinarily I would have no problem with it. It wouldn't concern me, but it does concern me when my lady now believes that is the case, and well, especially because of what happened now, she has only been given more evidence to the idea that these sorts of plot events may come out of nowhere and affect the people that she's grown close to. Now I have to attempt to either figure out how all this works or do damage control and convince her that it was merely coincidence. I think, like
Mm,
very quietly, I'm gonna say roll perception for
mhm.
this. As quietly, he mutters under his breath, despite all the mounting evidence to the contrary.
Yeah,
So yeah, with an 8, you only get like half of that. Like
yeah,
you don't really get anything too coherent, but he muttered
yeah,
something under his breath.
yeah. He sees the muttering, and it's fair. It makes sense that Juby doesn't catch that.
Hmm.
Um, because, oh my boy, he may not be a villain in truth, but Juby is so prone to monologuing,
Hmm.
especially when he's angry. He's prone to just talking. And oh, Xavier,
Hmm.
Xavier, buddy. Juby knew there would be consequences to doing this. Um,
Yeah.
he did not foresee that he was going to be the one getting angry.
Hmm.
Sometimes you take the emotional sledgehammer and realize, oh, the consequences. And he just, oh, okay. Okay, alright. So you want her to completely deny the possibility that there is some force out there that exists that can make things more prone to happening. And you want her to dismiss it, be completely unaware that this force exists out in the world, for better or worse, and just go around like that and be entirely unprepared for when things do happen. Yes, that sounds like a brilliant idea, Butler. That's wise. That is. Of course, you're the smart one here. That's how you'll keep her safe. Have her be unprepared for things that are bound to happen. Well, of course, because I mention it, not surely because things happen around here, or there is plenty of evidence of the plot being a force out in the world, much like, as said, gravity or the sun in the sky. Oh, yes, that's... It won't happen. Nothing will happen if we ignore it or taunt it. Just like you can, say, walk out into the desert and assume, yes, because the sun isn't real, I will not get burnt. I will not have to deal with dehydration. I can just walk out here, and everything will be fine because I don't believe in it. Right. And as he's saying this, God, I need to roll something else. What is that?
Mm-hmm.
Lovely, they're both the same modifier. Great, that's a dirty 20.
All right.
That is not deception, even though they both have the same modifier. That is
Yeah.
actually performance. As
Oh.
he almost... It is a very theatrical way that he rolls up to his feet and balances along the edge of the roof and sort of slinks closer to Xavier and circles him and speaks. It is theatrical and animated, and Jubilee is using... It's a character.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a character that he is familiar with being. Doesn't want to name it here, but Xavier has never seen this act.
Mm-hmm.
Other people might recognize it and be like, hey, stupid, stop doing this. But it's very theatrical. And it is most certainly not haha funny theatrical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think when he's doing this, like, I think Xavier's hand kind of unconsciously drifts over to his pocket where he keeps his silverware that he uses as weapons. He doesn't draw any of them
Mm-hmm.
yet, but he's definitely got his hand kind of hovering back there as he's sort
Mm-hmm.
of like watching Juby very carefully.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
yeah.
go on.
Now I'm trying
You
to
go,
think
you
what he
go.
does next. Yeah. He definitely looks like kind of very conflicted for a moment. Like he's keeping his eye on Juby, but he also looks like he's
Mm-hmm.
thinking very hard about something, like he's considering something.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Very well. Let's pretend for a moment I that I indulge the notion that the plot is some real immutable fact of how the world works, and not simply some system of beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, I suppose it would be useful to fully understand the way that the plot works in in that how these sorts of events target certain individuals, if only to be prepared for the possibility that it is not coincidence, but rather a targeted attack, so to speak.
There you go. Now you're playing the game right. Clever lad. All right. And he claps his hands stepping back from Xavier, moving just further onto the roof, sort of treating it like his stage, as he speaks. Well, that's the difficult part, you see. Everyone's story is different, everyone's life is different. It takes unexpected twists and turns. I mean, there is one person who would know how everyone's story goes, but that's a bit of forbidden knowledge that, well, you don't just exactly go passing out and about. Because, well, if you don't know how it goes, you can change things. If you know exactly how it's supposed to go, well, that sets it in stone. Probably. I am making a bit of a guess, but of course, with that, different plot triggers change for people. Someone's can be, going to a certain place, making a certain phone call, doing something here or there, or what have you. Why, it could even be taking a ride on a train. It can just make things happen. You can force it to go. But otherwise, if you tend to know the sort of scenarios you're bound to get into, then you can prepare for them. Of course, that means actually paying attention to the people around you. It does get a bit tricky, doesn't it?
So, in other words, inciting incidents, for a lack of a better term, situations that would bring about these sorts of plot events, as one would when writing scene in a story, so to speak.
Sometimes. Other times it can just happen because you're fortunate or unfortunate. Right place, wrong time, or however you so wish to phrase it.
And let's see. And sorry, I'm trying to think how to word this.
You're good.
Yeah. And if we are comparing the plot to, say, Gravity, would you say that it is something that affects everyone equally, regardless of who or what they are, or does it target certain individuals, say Toonkind perhaps specifically, or would it affect people who are in contact with Toonkind more often than, say, those who live elsewhere in the world, as an example?
Well, depending on who you ask. But since you're asking me, you get my answer. My answer is it exists everywhere. You might not pay attention to it as much if you're elsewhere. You might not have a name for it. You might call it luck, or circumstance, or coincidence. Any name for it.
Perhaps
There's
even
plenty of them
fate
out
or destiny, perhaps?
there. Somewhat. But the fates are an actual thing and not going to fuck with them.
Hmm.
So, yes, it would affect most everyone. Though some of us are more in tune with it, and some of unintentional pun aside, some of us actually lend credence to the fact that things just happen to people. And some of us are more predisposed to being the plot's favorite little jesters than others,
Hmm.
tunes or real kind.
Can
There's
I
no
roll an
real
insight
difference
on that?
there. Go ahead.
All right. Hmm.
What specifically is he looking for?
Just kind of like, the whole favorite little jester thing. Like, is he speaking from experience? Like, yeah.
Yes. Um, with a 12, yeah, you don't need to guess with that. You can tell he is speaking from his own experience,
Hmm.
and you can't tell exactly who else it might be, what their connection might be to him. But it's not just himself he's referring to. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's more people that he's referring to, even if he himself is aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Does
And
that answer your questions?
hmm, for the most part, I have one more though.
Hmm.
If the plot dictates how certain events will play out, does that imply that they are predetermined by some higher force or by the law of the nature, so to speak? Or
Oh, isn't that a question? Isn't that a question? To know if something is predetermined to happen. Well, that would be nice. That would have been really nice to know if something was bound to happen and there was no way to avoid it whatsoever. But nothing you do will change that fact. Oh, stars, if that isn't something I've fucking asked myself every day for the past 20 odd years. But, well, and ironically, for the moment that he was the most animated there, and there's a brief pause as he stops and takes hold of the compass that always hangs around his neck and holds it up for a second, looking at it and tilting it. And do you want to have Xavier roll perception or arcana? But arcana only if he
um,
has proficiency for it.
yeah, he doesn't have proficiency, so I'm just gonna go perception.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
another 12.
Yep. Um, again, pretty easy to see when you do catch a glimpse of it. Xavier, this compass does not point north. This compass seems broken at first, but it determinedly points in a very specific direction. And when he tilts it to the side, sort of examining it, um, it actually tilts straight downward.
Hmm.
Maybe a bit behind where Jubilee is standing, but it tilts and it moves. But that seems to be the strangest thing. You don't get a reason for why, you just see that it points somewhere other than north
Mm-hmm.
before Jubilee drops it. And it falls to bounce against his chest a few times.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to think that there are points in our lives where decisions have to be made. Forks in the road where you can change what happened. You won't know what they are. You won't know not until years pass, where you can look back and hindsight it tends to be a bit more insightful than in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think these are probably destined to happen choices. What they are, who knows? And well, probably for the best again. Not know, but just try to choose right
Mm-hmm.
whenever you have the opportunity.
And he kind of nods. And I think he says, hmm, uh, I suppose then it's quite fortunate that I've never, I've never believed in predeterminism. I don't think it's something that could exist, not so long as humans and other sentient creatures have free will. Otherwise, what would be the point of them having that to begin with?
Hmm.
I think he kind of paces to like kind of the edge of the roof to kind of like sort of stare out over the city. He
Hmm.
says, free will, something that could be considered both a blessing and a curse, something that enables mankind to be capable of both wondrous things and the most terrible atrocities one could ever conceive. And yet, they still have that choice on how to react to such things, what to do, and okay. And I find that to be a wondrous quality that only they can possess. Hmm. So, with that in mind, I think that my lady need not fear the effects of the plot for those around her or for the tragedy of her own life that has been penned thus far.
Well, the thing about that is, certainly hope that her choices make it less of a tragedy now.
Hmm.
But good on you for finally acknowledging it. I thought I was going to have to put stuff a fair bit more effort to convince you of it.
Well, if I could not adapt to these sorts of situations and ideals, then what kind of butler would I be? And he smiles that one smile he always does, the one with the closed
Mm-hmm.
eyes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I would consider you probably a pretty shit butler if you couldn't. But you seem to be decently adaptable so far. Yeah, you get a passing grade. B minus.
Well, I suppose that's good to hear, considering, I suppose that's a good thing to hear from my former interviewer. Good to know that I'm
Hmm.
still worthy of the job you chose me for. Well, you
Please.
among three other people, of course. I can't give you all the credit for that.
Oh, no. Well, for the most part, it was just to help the lady make her decision. All the
Yes,
thanks should go to her.
yes, that is true. Ultimately, it was her decision, so I suppose I can't give you any of the credit for that decision.
Perfect, because you are nothing but a thorn in my side and very annoying when I am simply trying to make sure that any silverware you have that is less than perfect is taken to some place where it could, be fixed or better suited.
Well, if I'm a thorn in your
Hmm.
side, then that means I'm doing my job properly. So, in that same vein, I am rather surprised of the detective thief's dichotomy that seems to be ever present in Villestown. I was under the impression that the detective side were the ones who were terribly nosy and can't mind their own business. Or perhaps the rest of your family has just been a bad influence on you.
Oh, no. I've always been this way. Just consider it part of my charm. Also, probably why there's no detective who can match my wit. Well, then again, it would be terribly embarrassing for them to get shown up each and every time should someone try. Hmm, such a shame. Alas, I'll have to continue my reign of terror across Icewell, as is.
How unfortunate. Well, for full of them, but for the time being, I suppose I shall have to stand stalwart and to stand against your reign of terror over the manor at the very least. And I suppose temporarily this house as well, so long as I'm being employed here.
Why would I steal from my own house? In fact, you should be worried about the other menaces down there that steal from me. I am the one who is being stolen from here. Consistently. I have been nothing but an absolute angel here, and yet my food continuously goes missing. My fireworks are more often than not. I keep careful count, and always something is vanishing from there. Really, you're doing an awful job of making sure things don't get stolen.
Well, in fairness, I wasn't ordered to keep an eye on everyone's belongings, so you'll have to take that up with my lady, I suppose.
I suppose if I must. After I did such a kind thing for her, she cannot bear to assist me. Ugh. It would
Well,
be
you
very
did bring
funny to
her her
have you.
favorite dessert. Well, you did bring her her favorite dessert earlier, so I'd say that likely did put you in her good graces.
I think I might ask her to do that anyway. It would be funny to see you go up against the menaces.
Ah, yes, especially that young fellow with the bandage on his nose. I caught him rifling through my coat pocket earlier. Though I will say
Ah, Timmy.
yes, his reaction was rather amusing when he discovered just how much silver I'm able to contain in my pockets, and the befuddled expression on his face as to what um hang on let me see the befuddled expression on his face when he asked what I believe the exact words were, "Why are you like this?" And he just smirks.
Yes. He's such a little troublemaker. I love him so much. Yes, you should be an especially annoying menace to that one, because he will always steal my things.
Duly noted then, he says,
Yeah.
still smirking.
Yeah. Do you want to roll insight?
Alrighty.
Just for fun and for laughs.
Yeah. Aw, it's
7.
7. Hang
You
on.
know what?
Did I give him
Take advantage.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, just take advantage because you have been here for a little
14.
bit.
That's better.
Yeah. Yeah. Xavier, you have been in this house for a little bit. Um, and you have seen how Jubilee reacts around family.
Hmm.
Um, you notice in particular, for all he is, a bit of a prick, he is an older brother. He lovingly bullies them. Um, he seems to have a particular soft spot for Timmy.
Aw.
Hmm. And even as he speaks and says, "This one's always stealing from me," you are able to pick up a fair amount of pride in his voice as he says that.
Aw.
Yana. Jazz hands.
Aw.
Right. So if we are in agreement and you are no longer going to be unfairly angry with me, do get off my roof.
Yes, yes. I I will have you know I was attempting to leave before you stopped me, so really this is all your fault.
Mm, no, I don't think so. I think I had to warn you off the and make a very important point, and let's be honest, you did gain such benefit, such insight out of conversation with me. I know, it is truly a gift to converse with me.
Now let's not get ahead of ourselves. And I will also remind you that you did scare off the cat I was doting over. So I'd
Mm,
say yeah.
did I? Did I? I don't think I did. I think I can have a cat back up here in, oh, and he snaps his fingers. And there is a flicker from the bracelet that he wears on his wrist that normally there's a charm on it that looks like a glowing ember. And that ember flickers and seems to turn to smoke for a moment that wreathes around his shoulder and solidifies as the fluffiest black cat you have ever seen, with bright orange eyes. And there is not a thought behind them as this cat just bleps, where it is
God.
curled around Jubilee's shoulders.
And immediately, like, his whole, like, like, stuffy and smug sort of, like, demeanor that he always has, instantly gone. He is just, like, you can practically see the little anime sparkles behind him as he's just in awe
Mhm.
of this fluffy lad.
Yeah, and Juby takes his cat from his shoulders, and you hear meow meow uh, as the cat protests just a little bit from being moved from her perch.
Aw.
And he has her in his arms and is just petting his cat so smugly, and is like, I may allow you time to dote on Her Highness if
Yeah. Mhm.
you don't complain about the cat that I scared off.
That sounds like a fair enough trade to me.
All right, Grim darling, go on. And he gently sets her down, and the cat scampers over to Xavier, immediately putting her front paws up on his leg and loudly protesting the fact that she is not getting attention right this second.
Oh, yeah, he immediately picks her up and he's just like going over her like, it is such a pleasure to
Mm,
meet you, Your Majesty. And what lovely fur you have. Oh, and such darling little paw beans. And yeah, he's just gonna
yeah.
be he's in like blissed out kitty mode now.
Yes, this is a very warm kitty. She
Hmm.
is like a little toaster. Very warm, very soft. No
Yeah.
thoughts head empty. The moment she is picked up, she is
Oh.
purring like and just she is like a ragdoll cat. This is you
Oh.
could swing her like a ferret and she would be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Xavier would not do that though. He's creating her very carefully.
Mhm. Yeah, she's and here he can see that she has a little golden collar with that same ember charm in the place where a name tag would be.
Hmm.
Hmm. And with that, Juby still looking very smug because Cat always wins. She
Yeah.
always wins. He loves his little darling. Um, he gives a bit of a wave to Xavier as he settles down. And let's see, can he get this from Hammerspace?
That's a
Oh dear.
one. Fumble.
Oh boy, let's see. How many times does it take? Let's see, let's roll. Actually, we're going to see how many times it takes, and then we're going to roll our fumbles. Because I don't
Yeah.
know if Xavier would be paying any attention to this or if he would be too charmed by Cat.
Probably too turned by cat, but we'll see what Juby ends up pulling out. Oh, just the one, looks
Right.
like.
Yep. Let's see. Oh, what is 8? Okay.
What is it?
Hold on. Okay. Um. Hmm. You want to roll perception?
Absolutely. And Xavier's
Yeah.
not getting great rolls. I mean, makes sense because
Hmm.
he's like lost into kitty sauce. So.
Yeah, that's plenty. You see a second where you see dynamite
Oh no.
and see Jubilee flinch and immediately shove it back up his sleeve.
Yeah.
And start rummaging around again very quickly before pulling
God.
out his guitar case with
Oh
a
man.
great deal of relief.
God.
Um,
I have to see like which monk ability it is. 'Cause I'm pretty sure he has like something. Actually, I think it's Step of the Wind is the one for like increases his jump. Because I think like Xavier sees the dynamite and like in an instant he like just jumps to the opposite side of the roof.
yeah, there is a meow from the cat in his arms because there was a pause in petting. Hello. And like even Juby's feathers were ruffled and just
Yeah.
peck. Fuck. I thought I got. Oh, I need to remember to clean out my bloody hammer space. Ugh, there it is.
Out of here, was the dynamite lit or was it just like an inert stick of dynamite?
It's that was not lit.
Okay,
That one
good.
wasn't.
Right.
Yeah, it's not lit. It was just it's. Yeah, he has a second to breathe and just settles and like looks over his shoulder at where Xavier jumped to and just rolls his eye, and you see the outline of his eye flicker back into the glasses lens and
Yeah.
just over dramatic eye roll. It wasn't even lit. Do you think I'm gonna carry around lit dynamite? That's stupid. I
Well,
know
I am
my
aware of some
bloodiest.
toon tropes. And he says as he like walks back over to where Juby is. So I didn't want to take any chances, especially not with this little one in within the potential blast radius. Isn't that right, dear?
Yeah,
You didn't want to get exploded, do you?
there's just purring, and she kind of rolls over. No thoughts, head empty.
Oh,
Probably starts batting at like a shiny button on
yeah.
Xavier's shirt.
Actually, he does have the bangs that kind of hang down, so she could just be batting at his
Yes,
hair.
she absolutely would. Uh, Juby like grumbles to himself, like, I wouldn't put Grim in danger. Besides, she'd probably be fine. She's made out of hardier stuff. She's not just a regular cat. And secondly, I know my explosives. I am the expert on them in this house. Thank you.
Fair enough. I'll take your word for it then. I think he just kind of gives like a dismissive hand wave, like as he's still petting the kitty.
Yeah. And Juby just huffs a little, thrown off because he is never allowed to have his cool moment.
Hmm.
Not once. No. He's at home.
No.
Of course he should have expected better. Yeah,
Yeah.
but he is able to just settle in to practice guitar while he is chilling on the roof.
And I think
And
we yeah,
yeah.
probably leave it here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think despite Juby's protest, Xavier's probably gonna chill on the roof for at least a tiny bit because again, lost to the kitty sauce. So
Yeah, it's fine. He'll be very smug and he can't be upset about Grim, who he does explain that her name is Grim.
yeah.
Not related to Grim Tome. Entirely unintentional. um he's fine. Grim is getting attention. He will allow this for
Hmm.
now. And yeah, we can fade out from there.
Yeah. All right. Well, that
Thank you
was
so much.
yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Woo.
All right. So I'm gonna end the recording here. But thank you to everybody listening live and in the future, and we wish you a very good time zone. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.